Hey everybody, welcome to All Things MSP. Tonight we're going to be talking about referrals. So what we're going to talk about is, do you do referrals? How do you do them? What we used to use in my MSP practice to gather referrals, what I know other people are doing to gather referrals. So we all know, at least I think, this is my experience, my best customers, and I know a lot of other people, this is the same for them, that their best customers came by word of mouth. Now, they may not have gotten a lot of them, but they were probably their best quality customers came from another customer. So what we want to talk about tonight is we want to talk about how do you accelerate word of mouth. And the way you do that is through having an active and consistent referral program. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and let me know you're here in the comments. Just give me a little shout out. Let me recognize you. Let me know you're here. And by the way, happy Friday. We've made it through another week. It's Super Bowl weekend, which is obviously why I'm not doing this on Sunday night. Had a free evening where, everybody else was going to be out tonight, so it made it easy to set up the studio and get things done. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you're doing for a referral program. And if you're not doing anything for a referral program, let me know. I want to know so that we can continue the conversation. We can make this a melting pot of ideas from lots of different areas because I don't want this just to be about things that I did. But I want to go ahead and kick things off and let, kind of maybe spark some ideas. As you come into the show, please go ahead and comment and let me know you're here. So, first of all, one of the most important things for having a referral program in the first place is you have to have happy customers. If you don't have happy customers, it's going to be hard to get that continuous stream of referrals because people are going to be hesitant to refer you if they're not happy with you. So one of the things you have to do is kind of make sure that you're doing a good job. Now I know as business owners, we all strive to do a great job. But as you grow and you get employees, sometimes, a lot of that you lose a little bit of control every time you hire another employee, unless you just have a great onboarding program, which you might have. But you have to, once you get to having, especially around 2 or 3 techs, you have to have the ability to measure your customer satisfaction. Now, there's several programs out there that, you can use to do that. The scoring method that I would recommend is called NPS, and it's called Net Promoter Score. And it basically comes down to a very simple question of whether or not they would recommend you to somebody else, which fits right in with the whole referral program, right? So what we want to do is make sure that you're pinging your customers periodically to get that NPS score. There's several companies out there that can do it. You can do it if you're using SurveyMonkey. There's some that are very specific and just handle Net Promoter Score. But it's a very easy and quick measurement of whether or not your customers are happy with you. So that's first step. Step number 1 is make sure that you have happy customers. And if you're not just a one-man shop, you need to be measuring it with a tool. And NPS is probably the simplest way to do that. And there's lots of resources online. And you can use free survey tools. This doesn't have to cost you any money, but it is something that you need to do. And it's very easy to do, especially, if you have something where you can send them a ticket. If you close a trouble ticket for them, quite typically you have the ability to send an email with that, when you close that ticket. So when you close that ticket in the email, go ahead in your template and create a link to the NPS score, because that'll allow them to take that survey every time they close a ticket if they want to. And it's optional. They don't have to do it. But if you can get them to do it, you can collect information on a fairly regular basis on how your MSP is doing where their business is concerned. So again, step number 1, happy customers. Step number 2 is you probably have to have an incentive. Um, Now, if you're collecting in volume like we just talked about with tickets, then you kind of get what you get, but you're putting the question in front of them enough that you should generate some responses. But that's not the only way to generate responses. Sometimes you actually just have to go out and get them. And sometimes, even if you don't want to do a regular campaign where you're going to be filling your funnel with word of mouth referrals, you may want to do a campaign. So it's very helpful, and you can kind of get a little bit of surge in growth or in sales if you go ahead and do like an email or snail mail campaign where you're physically asking for referrals. And this is where incentives come in. So I used Starbucks gift cards in the amount of $15. And I didn't know it at the time because I just wasn't as savvy at the time about this. But through some research that I did recently, I found out that the average cost of a lead for an MSP is about $45. It's actually pretty cheap. But if you figure, you spend $15 on a gift card, even if you live in a small area and three of your customers refer the same person, you've still only spent $45. So that's well within the industry norms. And if you get the same name from three of your customers, that's a pretty good referral. Because number one, you have three different people who are basically telling that person to trust you and use them, as their MSP. But also, those three people have kind of self-identified this guy, or this business for some reason as needing you. So there's probably a need there because he's complained about his existing computer guy, or however he's done that. There's probably a need being identified there. So anyway, incentive, I think $15 is a good amount. You can go higher, especially if you look at lifetime value of a customer. If you're doing, just retail computer repair, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's going to have a lower acquisition cost because your average selling price is going to be lower for individual repairs. Managed services, when you're getting a long-term contract, you can talk about lifetime value. And lifetime value, you can afford to spend more to get a managed services client because in the long run, they're going to pay you more money. And I just want to mention that two different ways to calculate how much you should spend on incentives for those referrals so that you can get value or return on investment on those incentives. Okay, if anybody else is here, please let me know in the comments. Want to know what you're doing for a referral program, whether or not you're doing it on a regular basis, whether it's part of your regular marketing or sales pipeline, and so that we can talk about it. So after incentives, we want to make sure that we have a way to capture and track those referrals. Guys, if you're not using a CRM and actually tracking your marketing and sales activity, you need to. I know most of us are tech guys. It took me a long time to learn this, but you have to wear the sales and marketing hat, especially in the beginning because nobody else is going to be able to do it. Now, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it can go both ways. My first hire was always an admin/marketing assistant because that was the job I wanted to do the least. I still put the effort into what we were going to do, designing the program. I did my own artwork. If you're not comfortable with that, obviously you got to hire somebody. But I put the program in place and then let that person run with it and do the regular, tedious work of making sure that all of those programs that I had designed were kept up with and maintained and that we were getting the right number of leads and all of that kind of stuff. Now, because I want to give credit to the other side of the equation, a lot of people will say to hire your tech as your first employee. And there's a lot of there's a lot of validation in that because texts generate revenue. Um, but you can also say that that marketing person is going to bring people to the door and the tech is going to do the work. So you kind of can't do it without both. So it all depends on which one you don't want to do, is what it comes down to, in my opinion. And you have to decide whether you want to do the tech work or whether you want to do the marketing work, and decide which one of those employees is best to hire first. Okay. We already talked about what to do, if you get duplicate referrals, in terms of your incentive payouts. Pay it, because those referrals where you get duplicates are more valuable than the ones that you where you only get one. Because again, like I said, those other business owners have identified a fellow business owner as having a need for your services. So you want to go after that customer, um, because there's more validation, there's more proof or evidence, if you will, that they're going to be a customer that needs your services and needs them rather soon, probably. Plus, you have extra validation of the additional referrals, right? You have, instead of just one, you have two or three maybe, uh, fellow business owners again who are saying, hey, we identified this guy as being our MSP. He takes care of all of our IT stuff. This is the person that you want doing your IT stuff as well. Okay? So those are kind of the things to keep in mind as you're thinking about building your referral program. Now, let me switch papers here. Um, there's a couple of different ways that you can go about getting your referrals. Um, Old school, you can do direct mail, you can do direct email. Now, I would recommend, if you do that, to use some type of like survey monkey that they can actually fill out. You can use Google Forms if you want to. Just something where it's captured automatically instead of them having to fill something out by hand and sending it back to you, or them having to reply to your email and type in email addresses or whatever. Make it super simple. Make it easy as possible. And then also make sure that you follow up on your incentive payouts very, very quickly, because it matters in terms of how they're going to feel about doing the next time you ask for referrals. Phone campaign. I'm a big proponent of getting on the phone. Not enough people do it anymore. Now, I realize when you're a smaller organization, it's more difficult to make those phone calls. Uh, but I've seen success in smaller MSPs where the business owner just committed to making 5 phone calls a day. Literally, he would grab the phone book, go to the yellow pages, and start dialing through attorneys or doctors, whatever vertical he was in, or just across the board, and he would contact 5 businesses a day to find out, what their IT needs were, whether there was, an opportunity to come in and do a presentation. Uh, Cold calling works because not as many people do it anymore. And as MSP providers, we're in a position where um, it's a personal service. We're not just trying to sell them something over the phone. So all you're asking for is 30 minutes of their time to come talk to them about making their, IT environment, their network more secure, more efficient, and cost less money. So it's not as intrusive, and it's a higher credibility, maybe is what I want to say, than just somebody trying to cold call, to sell a set of steak knives. Okay. Um, Invoice inserts. This worked really well for me. I didn't get a ton of response, but when I did, they were still quality, and it cost me very little. Now, this was back in the day when we mailed more invoices than we emailed. And you can do it in both, right? You can have it as part of the email, or you can just, what we did was we cut pieces of paper into thirds and had places for people to fill out and send back, or we had a website that they could go to and fill out the information. That made it much easier for them if they could just go to the website and fill out the information. Quarterly business reviews. Quarterly business reviews, and I could probably do a whole show on this and probably will, is one of the greatest places to ask for a referral because you've got them already engaged and you're sitting in front of them and say, hey, I think we're doing a pretty good job for you. We've been through this business review. Things are going well. I'm always looking to, pick up new business. Is there anybody you can think of, in your industry or, other business owners that that would benefit from our services as well? Um, and a lot of times it's hard for that business owner, especially if you guys have a good relationship, to uh, to completely ignore that request. Um, it might be a little bit uncomfortable to ask, but you're in a position where you've just gone through a business review, everything is running well, and it's a great time to ask, to make an ask like that. And you can just jot them down right there and then take them back and put them into your CRM. Another one is, and believe it or not, this does work, putting it in your email signature, especially if it includes an incentive, because not only then do you get the business owner, but you might get the receptionist at the front desk, um, nurses, anybody who would open a trouble ticket could potentially get that referral link in an email when they're just going back and forth on cases or whatever, and fill that out and give you a referral. Again, you're not going to get a lot of them from that, but it's consistent. And consistency, when it comes to filling your pipeline or filling your funnel with new business, is incredibly important. Um, Anytime you have a happy moment with your customer. So if you do something that is amazing for your customer, so you solve a big problem or you help them implement, some big new software upgrade or something, anything that is kind of over and above, that you can take advantage of and say, hey, we really enjoyed, working on this special project. Is there anybody else who you know of who needs this same upgrade or uses this same software that we could reach out to that might need the same type of help? So that's a great time to ask for a referral as well, because you've got the scales tipped in your favor in terms of needing, you did something for them and now they're going to have that little feeling of obligation to you to do something for you. So it's a great time to ask. The other thing is, if you're keeping, we talked about this earlier in the show, if you're doing NPS scores. So if you are collecting net promoter scores from your customers, the minute, not the minute, but when they go from being a 7 to an 8, meaning that they're neutral when they start, and then they go to, yes, they would refer you to somebody that they know, that's a great time to ask for a referral because something has happened in your business relationship that now makes them want to promote you to other people. And so that's a great time to ask for referrals as well. Okay, I've been talking a lot. So if you're logged in, let me know. If you have any questions, if you have any experience with doing referral programs, things like that, let me know. We've got a couple people logged in, but you guys are kind of being quiet. So let me know you're here. Let me know if you have any questions. And if not, I guess my audio is still good. So everybody's still listening. So I want to talk about another type of referral program. And this is a referral program that I use several times. It's not a constant thing because it depends on other people and they're more one-offs, than something that you would use to consistently fill your funnel. But and that is joint venture referral campaigns. And what I mean by that is you go to somebody else, another service provider in your area, that does something different, but maybe complementary to what you do. Now, I've seen people have success doing this with um, phone guys, attorneys, CPAs, basically anybody who provides business services, because they're going after the same customer that you are, right? You're looking for businesses, they're looking for businesses, and so if you can combine customer lists and send something out to those people, you're going to have a good return on your investment, especially because mailing is cheap, emailing is even cheaper. Um, I like mailing because it tends to get ignored less these days, but email is definitely cheaper. And use MailChimp, something like that, where you can keep track of those emails as they go out. By the way, MailChimp is free, I think, up to 1,000, 1,500 email addresses, and you can send out, I don't know, 3 or 4 a month. And so it makes it ultra cheap for the small MSP to use that. But anyway, back to joint venture referrals. What you're going to do is you and the other business owner are going to create two separate letters. One letter is from you to his customers, and the other letter is from him to your customers. Now, the reason you do it this way is so that you actually don't have to share customer lists, because your customer list is valuable. And if you just give it to somebody, there's nothing to stop them from going back and using it over and over again. And you don't want to do that to your customers. You don't want to give your list to somebody who's just going to spam your customers. It's not good for your reputation. It's definitely not going to be good for them, because it's not going to work for them. And your customer is going to end up unhappy. So anyway, two letters, then you swap letters. And you send his letter to your customers with a little note that says, hey, this is somebody that I've worked with on a regular basis. He works with a lot of my customers. Just wanted to let you know in case you're looking for CPA, telephone guy, whatever. This worked amazingly well for me several times. I think we did it maybe once a year. And every time we did it, we had a great little boost in sales. You can do it more often than that, but it kind of, be wary of fatigue when you're doing that, because you can overdo joint venture referral campaigns. So it's best to limit them to once, maybe twice a year, and definitely try and switch it up a little bit. If you're going to do it twice a year, don't do the same phone guy twice a year. Do maybe the phone guy and the CPA. That would be much better. So definitely look at doing joint venture referral programs, because it opens up an entire other customer list to you that you wouldn't have access to otherwise, without endangering your customer list, if that makes sense. Okay. Let me throw this up here just because I have it. And in case you guys don't know, you can reach me at Eric Anthony MSP on Twitter. I typically tweet a little bit more than I post things on Facebook, just because of the way it is, the way Twitter's set up. My longer posts usually make it to Facebook and LinkedIn. The shorter ones and just the little things that occur to me day in and day out usually end up on Twitter. So if you can, please follow me there on Twitter. That would be helpful. And I think that's about it that I was planning on talking about in terms of referrals. I was worried about, doing this on a Friday night and with short notice. Looks like we have kind of a quiet crowd tonight, which is okay. But I knew that it would be really, really quiet if I tried to do this on Sunday night. I'm going to hang out just for a few more minutes to see if anybody else has any questions. So if you do have any questions, I'd like to know. I'm going to check my phone just to make sure that they're not showing up there and not showing up on my computer, because that would be bad, right? Yeah, we've got several viewers according to my phone as well. So you guys want to say hi, want to talk about your referral programs. Of course, this will be posted online. I'll try and get it up online tomorrow. It's Saturday. We've got kids going, that direction. But I'll see what I can do. Now, in terms of schedule for the next one probably won't be for 2 weeks. Now, of course, I've kind of promised I'll do these on a 2 week basis. I'm going to try and do them a little more often if I can. But I'll be out of town next week and, won't be back, in time to plan one for next Sunday night. But we'll definitely do one 2 weeks from Sunday. Okay? And as usual, if you have any suggestions, any ideas of the topics that we should cover on the show, or maybe you want to be on the show. I had Ian on last week. The software I'm using actually works great for pulling in a Skype guest, and it worked really well, even with Ian being all the way over on the other side of the pond in the UK. So definitely open to that. Looking forward to having more interactive sessions. And thank you guys for joining tonight, and hopefully you got a lot out of this. Have a great weekend. And of course, the ending video is not working. Oh well, I guess you guys will have to do without the ending video tonight. Oh, here's what I'll do. I'll do the intro video as the outro video.